Black Hat contributing editor Alex Waro, and with me today is technologist, entrepreneur, security expert, and Black Hat review board member Matt Devost. Matt, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, now you've got a lot of things to add to your title. You're also the CEO of OODA. And I'm interested to sort of talk about how you are adapting to our current climate and sort of, what your thoughts are on Black Hat in general and your work as a review board member. But I think to start, we got to talk to sort of where you came from and your current career. I know at Black Hat USA 2019, you gave a great talk about your progress from hacker to entrepreneur and about how the important role that conferences play in your professional development. So I kind of just want to what are you working on now?
Yeah, and today I'm doing a variety of stuff still involved in the cybersecurity space. Obviously, it's a combination of direct consulting to some of the largest companies in the world that are grappling with very complex security problems. Also do quite a bit of work in the mergers and acquisition space. So due diligence and buy-side advisory as the market continues to grow and expand and there are mergers and acquisitions taking place.
That makes a lot of sense. I kind of wonder, something we're thinking a lot about at Black Hat is how many conferences and professional events are having to go virtual this year to adapt to the changing climate. I wonder, as you're seeing that happen, do you have any advice for folks within information security or those who are looking to break in about how they can still expand their career during these limited times?
Yeah, I think, obviously it makes it a little bit more difficult because the in-person events don't, account for that being able to have the serendipity of running into people.
Right.
So I'd encourage people to take advantage of, being able to watch the content is great, but most of these events have sidebar chat rooms and things that take place. They have options where you can enter into breakout rooms and be assigned to discussions with people that you don't know, just kind of random participants. So I think in today's age, it's important, to keep that connectivity to the community, keep participating in the events, but you have to expand that participation into some of these Discord chat rooms and into the Twitter feeds and kind of the broader community discussion. It's not just happening in one geographic location.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I wonder, something else we should probably talk about. I've been very impressed with the Black Hat Veteran Scholarship Program that you've pioneered here. I kind of want to get your thoughts on sort of where that came from and why it's important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it came from a coffee that I had with a close friend who we were talking about how there were needs in the cybersecurity domain for additional jobs, anywhere from 30,000 to 3 million open recs for people with cybersecurity skills. And then also the fact that there were these veterans that were transitioning out of the service and how maybe they could play a role in that field. And my friend over coffee challenged me and said, well, hey, you're participating in Black Hat. What are you doing to get veterans at Black Hat? And so that first year, we did really just a grassroots. I mean, as a review board member, I get a few free passes that I can invite people to their first Black Hat. Myself and a few other of the review board members offered up our free passes, and we ran a scholarship program. And we looked to bring that first year just 2 people out to Black Hat to experience it, and not just experience a conference, but then we worked really hard to integrate them into the community, get them invited to networking events and parties and hosting dinners and meeting with each other. What we also wanted to demonstrate was that there was kind of multiple career paths. For example, you have people who are working in the cybersecurity field within the military. Obviously, that's an easy transition. But then you have others who are technologists and leaders, et cetera, that could also transition into that space. My favorite example, that first year, we had somebody who had been in the Air Force, and he was a weatherman. And you think, what's a weatherman going to do from a cybersecurity standpoint? But when I reviewed the application and looked at it, he had been running his own weather network that was comprised of, it was like 55 or 60 Linux servers. He was keeping them up to date. He was taking these online courses to hack himself so that he could keep them secure. He was participating in the community. So here's somebody who was a weatherman by trade, but had become a sysadmin out of necessity and had become a hacker out of necessity as a sysadmin. So he, absolutely loved the event, and we were able to get both of the veterans the first year employed in the cybersecurity field. The next year we did something similar, but a little bit larger, and then the Black Hat organization decided to make it an official scholarship event for the veterans, and now we're up to, I think it's 20 that participated last year, attending for free and had their hotel covered. Didn't provide airfare transportation, but we did provide accommodation, and we did provide them with the free fee. This year we're doing it as well. Obviously, this year it'll be an online only, but what we will be doing is facilitating some veteran-only Zoom events for them to get to know each other, but then also to network with some of the key folks supporting veterans in the cybersecurity field as well.
That's great. So it sounds like you have a plan in place to adapt it for the virtual event this year.
Absolutely.
I imagine that'll be tricky, but yeah, as a relative newcomer to the team, I've always been impressed by the scholarship program, and so to hear where it came from and to hear that great story is just fantastic. I also wonder, we should also talk a bit about what you actually do as a review board member, because I think a lot of people want to know sort of how that process works and what they can do to maximize their chances of having a pitch be accepted at Black Hat. So I'm just sort of generally curious, what does your work as a Black Hat review board member entail?
Yeah, so it's, as you would imagine, it's reviewing a lot of submissions that want to come and speak at Black Hat. I've been a member of the Black Hat Review Board since inception, so I've watched it evolve over time. It's definitely become much more formalized. Of course, we're dealing with a larger volume, much more inclusive, bringing in experts in other areas of domain expertise, bringing in folks that have different regions that they operate in, right, to start and expand out into other geographies out in the world. But really, the Black Hat, I think the review board plays this great role as kind of the custodian of the technical content for the event. I mean, Black Hat really is one of the only commercial conferences that is still rooted in this concept of having peer-reviewed, technically vetted content that we accept into the program. It's not a pay-to-play for a vendor piece of it. It's not a, here is, scrappy research, although there's great events for doing stuff like that. But it's a big name, obviously very well attended, well supported commercial event that still uses the review board as kind of the balance and check force on the quality of the content that we're bringing into the program every year.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. I'm glad you're willing to pitch in for us. I guess sort of just on a general note, as we sort of close out here, I'm kind of curious, I love your setup you got going on there, but I'd love to know, like, sort of, what are you doing to sort of stay sane during this quarantine, and what are you most looking forward to once the quarantine is lifted?
I definitely miss the events. I mean, I think it's going to get tougher the closer that we get to August, but for me, Black Hat and DEF CON, the following weekend have been an anchor in my summer for as long as I can remember in my professional career, right? I've been going out since Black Hat #1, was attending DEF CON prior to that. So there's definitely, that is the thing that I miss the most and will appreciate the most when it's back. By way of how I'm staying sane, I'm trying to keep very busy, but then getting much more involved in online content. I've been doing a lot more webinars. We launched at OODA, we launched a podcast and video series called OODA Cast, where we're bringing all sorts of interesting people in and talking about all of these great global issues. We've brought in some of the head of analysis at the CIA from years ago. We bring in business leaders, we bring in thinkers, cybersecurity practitioners. So we've been having a lot of fun with that as a way to kind of expand the community and keep the dialogue going while everybody's stuck at home.
I'm glad. Yeah, it sounds like you really got something going over there, and I'm sort of glad you're continuing the work. Thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, it's been fantastic to talk to you and get some insight into the review board process. And yeah, thanks so much for making time for it.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah.